What's going on, Future DDS family? We'd like to take a moment to recognize our sponsors for today's video, DAT Booster. DAT Booster is a DAT prep platform which we've seen help plenty of students improve their scores and actually gain acceptance into dental school. We've done multiple giveaways in the past for this platform, and it's actually come full circle to the point where Nick has actually used the program to improve his scores, and he's actually applying for dental school right now. So I want to give him a moment to explain a little bit about his journey, his process using the program, as well as, give us a little bit more feedback about the platform himself.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, I absolutely love DAT Booster. I was studying for the DAT for over a year. So I've seen a lot of question banks, and DAT Booster by far just seemed to be the most up to date. And I'll give you guys an example. When I was taking the biology section on my real DAT, I saw 15 questions word for word from DAT Booster. And I know I wouldn't have been able to get a 30 on the bio section without them. And I ultimately got a 27 academic average. So that's been a huge help in applying to dental schools. I highly recommend them to any pre-dent considering using their program.
So another great thing about DAT Booster is the fact that they understand that you all are actual students, right? They know you have a lot to pay for, being with applications and the actual DAT exam itself. And so what they do is they give you access to their platform to take one free test just to make sure that you like it and it's a good fit for you. Here at FutureDDS, we always preach on preparation, and we believe that the DAT Booster program is great prep for your DAT exam. If you all are interested and want some more information, go ahead and click the link in our description below. Now let's get back to the video.
Hi, my name is Monica. I am originally from Zambia, so I'm an international student. I did my undergrad at the University of Detroit Mercy in Michigan, and my major was biology. Some of the extracurricular activities I was involved in was the Pre-Dental Student Association. I was the vice president, and I think that was a very useful experience in preparing for dental school, meeting the right people, going to networking events, etc. A few of my hobbies are working out, doing puzzles, and hanging out with friends and family. So I always knew I wanted to do something in the healthcare field, but I didn't actually know how much I would like dentistry until I started dental school in a different country. And when we started doing all the preclinical lab work, that's when I really started to like it. I started to like the aspect of using your hands, but still, doing something that involves science. When I moved here and I started shadowing and working at dental offices and getting to interact with patients, I think that was the more impactful side of it, because I do love to talk to people, so I think it's a great fit for me. So when it came to preparing for the DAT, the program I used was the DAT Bootcamp. I think it was good because it had all the different subjects that you're going to cover. It had full-length timed exams, I think about 10 of them, which was definitely sufficient for preparing. I studied for about 2.5 months right after graduation. I was also working part-time as well at the same time. So I think the two most important things in general, even if you're only studying, is time management and efficiency with your preparation. And my key tips for that would be focus on your weakest subject first. I would say if, let's say, between the three sciences and you know that biology is the most difficult, but you focus more on the other two, which you're doing better in, start with what you're not as good at in, because you do need to get stronger in that. My second tip is do PAT every single day, even if you're already better at it or already scoring well, because the quicker you get, the better it will be for your actual exam. And your brain will just get used to immediately spotting the right answer. And my third tip will be try to give yourself at least one full day, if not every week, then every 2 weeks, where you just don't do any studying at all, just relax, get good sleep, and then get back to it the next day and stick to a plan. I didn't follow a set schedule, but I did have like a daily list of what I would do that specific day to make sure that I did cover every single topic and leave myself enough time to practice as well. I think One thing that set me apart on my application was my work experience. So, as I mentioned before, I did take a gap year between undergrad and dental school, during which I worked full time as a dental assistant. But during undergrad, I also did about 8 months of work in behavioral therapy, working with children on the spectrum. And I did find a way to incorporate dentistry into that. And I think that was an interesting step, like away from dentistry. It's not a bad thing to do experiences that are not directly related to dentistry, as long as you can kind of find the impact in them, or be able at least to explain to your interviewer why you chose to do this, what you got out of it, and if it does have a link to dentistry, what that is and what you did with that going forward. I didn't get the chance to attend any pre-dental days or open houses that Temple did, just because I wasn't able to travel for them. But I think that that is a great way to connect with other students, as well as the admissions offices at schools that you are interested in, if you're able to. When it came to the interview, I actually got my interview pretty late in the cycle, about first week of November, for an interview scheduled a week and a half later. But I do know for a fact that Temple do start giving out interviews as early as mid-August. So my one tip for that would be try to get your applications in as soon as possible if you're able to take your DAT earlier. If not, then do get everything submitted, and that way your score is the only thing pending. For the interview day itself, so we get to the school, we had breakfast, and then we had a talk from the director of admissions about the school, what set them apart, their clinical program, what their requirements looked like. And then we got to have a tour of the school, which was nice because you want to see their facilities, you want to see how their clinics are laid out, what technology your school will have. Are they into like 3D stuff? Do they have milling? What else they can offer you? After that, we had a chance to interact with students from all 4 years. So it was nice because they each spoke to us about what their day was like, their different tips, if they're from out of state, how they transition moving in, finding apartments, etc. So that was really useful. So that's why my other recommendation is, if you're able to attend even virtual open houses that schools you're interested in are doing, do so. And I know Temple will be hosting those as well, so do look out for them if you do want to go to Temple. So my tips for the interview process are, I'm sure you've heard this before, know your application inside out. That is everything that you are putting forward to the school. So again, it should be true. Do not ever lie on your application. They will ask you about your experiences, the relevance of it, the impact of it as well. I think it's not as valuable to have, a whole bunch of experiences that you can't really talk about versus fewer that actually have meaning, or you did for a particular reason, that sort of thing. When it comes to Temple's interview specifically, it is pretty short compared to other schools, only about 10 to 12 minutes with a preset list of questions. And then at the very end, you do have the opportunity to ask your interviewer questions. You could be interviewed by either alumni, faculty, people from admissions. So you don't know that until you get there. I think now they will probably transition to virtual interviews, which gives more students the opportunity, but same rules apply. Be prepared, be confident in your answers, and also kind of show them why you want to go there. So when it comes down to the specific question of, why Temple or why any school, do know that answer, because if you're not convinced, then it's probably not, you probably don't want to end up there anyways. So I applied to about 8 schools. The 3 main criteria I was keeping in consideration were the clinical strength of the program, the financial aspect of things, as well as a little bit of location. And when I say a little bit of location, I was just thinking realistically, if there's places that I knew I didn't want to live, I didn't think that there was a point in applying there, spending the money, spending the time, filling out applications and traveling to these interviews. So I think keep that in mind, but also don't let it limit you. So Temple, for example, I wasn't really considering as much at first, but the more people I spoke to, and when I actually came out and saw the school, heard what they had to say, spoke to students, which was so important because they give you a glimpse of their experience. And I think you want to go to a place that students are having a good experience. It could be, maybe from the outside seems a great school, but if people there are not really having a good time, or if they say like the culture of the school was really big. And at Temple, I found by being there, everyone's having a good time, everyone learns. It's a really great environment between the faculty and the students, which is useful. You're going to be there for 4 years. And the other thing about Temple is they have the second largest patient population in the country, and it is located in a part of Philly where it's very accessible to patients that actually need the care. So that's important as well. The transition from being a pre-dental student to a full-time dental student can definitely be overwhelming because dental school is much more fast-paced than undergrad. The most difficult part for me, I would say, was being able to study for long periods of time, coming off of a gap year, especially where I hadn't studied at all. The other things that kind of I had to implement were keeping an open mind to new study methods that were suggested to me by my friends, by my faculty, depending on the class. So I went from studying alone to studying in groups for certain classes. I went from, note-taking everything, which I realized in dental school I didn't always have time to do, to actually using Quizlets, which was much quicker, allowed me to repeat the information multiple times. So that was very helpful as well. The other thing I would say is definitely stay organized. I think that was the biggest thing in undergrad. You either had people to remind you or emails from professors for assignments, but in dental school, you really have to stay on top of it because things do pile up very quickly and you have a million things going on at once. You're in clinic one day, you're in lecture the next, you have lab projects to keep up with. So planner will be your best friend. Typical day for a D1 student at Temple will start at 9 a.m. and usually run till 4 p.m. You'll have about 2 to 3 lab sessions a week, each one lasting 3 hours. That's where you do all your preclinical work and build your hand skills. The rest of the time, the D1s are usually in lecture. They take about 3 classes at a time because Temple applies the block system, which was my first time experiencing it, but I actually found to be very useful because you're focused on one class. So while you do have so many lectures of it a week, but I find it easier at least that you're not studying for 6 classes at a time and having to keep up with that instead. So all of your energy is focused more in one class, and it'll usually be split up where you have your semester-long dental course, and then you have a block science course, which is, heavier in credits, a little bit more difficult, has more volume, and then usually paired with a 1 to 2 credit class that's either an ethics class, a behavioral science class, or just a simpler dental class. For a D3, I start at 8 a.m. I have lecture from 8 to 9, clinic from 9 to 12, and then we have an hour lunch, so does the D1s. And then lecture from 1 to 2, clinic from 2 to 5. What excites me the most about going to school every day now is definitely interacting with our patients. Temple has a very diverse patient pool, and it's so nice to see how appreciative they are of the care. They're very understanding that we're students and, the longer appointment times and all of that. Another thing I really love is, again, I mentioned this earlier in a different question, was the culture of the school. The faculty, the friends, the administration, there's just so much support around you where everyone wants you to do well. We have tutors, we have the academic affairs office that is open anytime. If you're struggling with anything, they will find, a way to make sure that you're getting by and doing well. My biggest piece of advice to pre-dents would be Make sure you love it, and then envision the type of dentist that you want to be, whether it's a practice owner, a specialist, if you want to go into research. Know what it is, have that end goal in front of you, and work towards it every single day. Find the right people to connect with, talk to people, hear their different experiences, see what you can learn from it. And even if the process takes time, keep going. I will leave my email with the FutureDDS team. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the application process in general, any questions specific to Temple, if you want to be connected with somebody from admissions who can maybe answer a question that I can't, I'd be more than happy to help. And good luck to all of you.